Hello, everyone. Today's joke of the day is, why are pirates bad at playing cards? Stay tuned to find out. Our learning target today is, I can solve an equation by combining like terms when necessary. Okay, so sometimes when we're solving equations, we have to combine like terms or simplify the equation before we can start using inverse operations. So for example, in this first one, we have an x and we have a minus 3x. Okay, so we have x, and then we have minus 3x. Okay, we have two terms that have x's in them. Okay, they have the same variable and to the same power. So those are our like terms. Okay, so the first thing before we're going to start, with our railroad tracks or doing anything to the other side of the equation is we want to combine those like terms. Well, since there's not a coefficient with this first x, we know that that is really just a 1. Okay, so we have 1x, and we're subtracting 3 x's from that. So we take our 1x minus 3, so we can just take 1 minus 3. Well, that gives us a negative 2x. And we know that that is going to be equal to negative 24. Okay, so now that we've combined our like terms, we can start to solve the problem by using inverse operations. Okay, so we can draw our railroad tracks to help us keep everything straight on the right side that we want it to be on. Okay, and then we have our negative 2 times x. So this is multiplication. So the inverse of multiplication is going to be division. So we're going to divide by a negative 2 on both sides. Okay, and then we'll take negative 2 divided by negative 2. That goes away because that just gives us 1. So then we're left with x on the left-hand side. And that is equal to, well, we have negative 24 divided by negative 2. Negative divided by a negative gives us a positive, right? And then we have 24 divided by 2. That gives us 12. So we have x equals 12. Now we should always check our work. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Okay, we should always check our work by substituting our final answer back into the original problem. So we can take 12 minus 3 times 12 and see if that is equal to negative 24. Okay, well, 3 times 12 is 36. So we have 12 minus 36 is equal to negative 24. 12 minus 36, we can plug that into our calculators to get negative 24 is equal to negative 24. So it checks out. We got the right answer. Okay. Let's look at this next one. I'm always going to circle my like terms to help me remember what things I'm combining, okay, especially when we get into having several terms that we're going to need to combine. So first we have this 3x, and then we have a 4x here, okay? This is a big mistake that I see a lot, very often, is that you forget that this 4x is really a negative 4x. Okay, so that negative sign should go with that term. Okay, that will help us when we are combining them because 3x minus 4x is different than 3x plus 4x, right? So if you have 3 x's and we're subtracting 4 of them, that should give us a negative 1x. I'm going to leave that 1 in there for right now. That'll help us out in a little bit. And then we end up with plus 7 is equal to negative 2. And now we can go ahead and solve. So we'll draw in our railroad tracks to help us keep everything straight. Okay, and then we want to isolate that x. So we are going to do the inverse of addition with this 7 and subtract 7 on both sides. Okay, and then we'll bring down that negative 1x. Positive 7 minus 7, that gives us 0, so we don't really need that in there. And then we have our negative 2 minus 7 gives us a negative 9. Now over here we have negative 1x, negative 1 times x. To get rid of that negative 1 times x, we're going to divide by negative 1 because that's the inverse operation of multiplication is division. So negative 1 divided by negative 1, that goes away, and we are left with x is equal to negative 9 divided by negative 1. Two negatives make a positive, so we have x is equal to 9. And then you should always substitute that back into your original equation to check your work, but I'm not going to do that right now. But you should do that to make sure that I got that one all right. Okay. Now here, this next one, we have a couple more like terms. So we have a negative x and then a positive 9x. Okay, so since it's positive, I'm not going to super worry about circling that addition sign, but you totally could if you want to. All right, we have negative x plus 9x. So we have a negative 1x, adding 9 to that. Okay, that gives us an 8x minus 105 is equal to 127. Okay, and now that we've combined all of our like terms, we can go ahead and solve. So we are going to first, we want to isolate that x. Okay, we're going to undo addition and subtraction first. Here we have a subtraction. Okay, so the inverse of subtraction is addition. So we're going to add 105 to both sides. Okay, you can always use your calculator to help you out with that step. We'll be left with 8x is equal to 127 plus 105 gives us 232. Okay, and then 8 times x is equal to 232, so we will divide by 8 on both sides. Okay, because we have 8 times x. Inverse of a multiplication is division. Okay, so those will cancel out. We'll be left with x is equal to, well, I'm going to use my calculator to figure out 232 divided by 8. That gives me 29. Okay, so our final answer is x is equal to 29. All right, let's look at this next one. Okay, like terms, we have a 10x and we have a negative 12x. Okay, and then we have this other negative 12. So we don't do anything with that right now. We'll take our 10 minus 12x, 10x minus 12x. So we have 10, we take away 12, then we are left with a negative 2x minus 12 is equal to 24. Okay, and now we can solve our equation. So we'll draw on our railroad tracks there, and we want to isolate that x. So the first thing we want to do is the opposite of the order of operations. Okay, so we are going to add 12 to both sides because that is the inverse of subtraction. We are left with a negative 2x is equal to 36. Then we'll divide by negative 2 on both sides to undo that negative 2 times x. We'll be left with x is equal to 36 divided by negative 2 gives us a negative 18. Okay, just a couple more here. All right, now this one has a few different kinds of terms that we can combine. So we have some terms with x's in them. So I'm going to box those in red. So we have a negative x minus 3x. Okay, and then in blue, I'm going to circle these constants. Okay, so a like term is something that has the same variable to the same power, right? But these ones don't have variables, so those are also like terms. Okay, so first we'll combine our x's. So we have negative x minus 3x. That gives us, well, we have negative 1x, right? Minus 3x, that gives us a negative 4x. And then we have negative 26 plus 4. That gives us a negative 20. Oh, I'm going to do this in blue. That gives us a negative 22, and that is all equal to 42. Equal to 42. Okay, and now that we've combined our like terms, we can start to solve by using inverse operations. Okay, so the inverse of subtraction here is addition, so we will add 22 to both sides. Okay, and then we're left with negative 4x on the left-hand side is equal to 64. Right, negative 4x, that's 4 times negative 4 times x. So we'll divide by negative 4 on both sides to get rid of that. One up with x is equal to 64 divided by negative 4 gives us a negative 16. Okay, one last one here. All right, sometimes our like terms are not always going to be right next to each other like they have been in the previous problems. But not to worry, we can still do the same thing. So I have this 3x here, and then I have a negative 2x here. Okay, those are in red, so I can combine those, all right? So I have 3x minus 2x, that gives me just an x. Okay, we could think of it as 1x, but we don't really need that one, right? Because it's 1 times any number, it's just that number. And then we have our negative 13 minus our 6. Okay, negative 13 minus 6, that gives us a negative 19. Okay, we can combine those, and then that is all equal to 7. Now that we have that, we can go ahead and solve. So we have this x all by itself, so that's awesome. It's not being multiplied by anything, but we still have this minus 19, so to get rid of that, we are going to add on both sides, because that's the inverse of subtraction is addition. So we'll have x is equal to 26. Okay, so I know you've all been waiting for the joke of the day. Why are pirates bad at playing cards? Well, it's because they're always sitting on the deck. Thanks for watching and have a great day.